That Great Business Show, officially Ireland's top business podcast, crowned UCD's Smurfit's Business Podcast of the Year.
Welcome to episode 268 of That Great Business Show, available worldwide on YouTube, Spotify or Apple. I am Conal O'Moran. Yep, I said YouTube, it's a thing. More and more people seem to want to listen to their podcast on YouTube. Go figure, but we're always happy to oblige. Now, this is a really interesting episode if you want to find a clever way of talking to your customers using bags or boxes. And how big a market do you need to make a business viable? We ask because the new medtech startup is aiming at just 20,000 doctors. Sounds a bit small to me, but I've been wrong before. And as always, before we get started, a word from our grooming gurus at De Facto Shaving Oil. These little lads there. Ditch the foam, I keep telling you. All those empty cans of foam have to go to landfill. Why? Because they are deemed hazardous waste. One little bottle of De Facto lasts for months, works anywhere you shave, and it's fully recyclable. Good for your skin, your wallet, and your conscience. DeFactoShave.com, that's the place to go. Now, here is a puzzle for you. There are, as I mentioned, only 20,000 doctors in Ireland, and every time I visit one, I tap my debit card on the way out. Instant payment, I guess. So why are so many doctors waiting weeks or even months to get paid? Two Irish founders, Byrne and David Crimmins, say that they have cracked it. Their new fintech, Global Health Capital, uses AI to fund doctors caught in those endless payment cycles. Now, I'm wondering if the same model would work for other lumpy income earners like freelancers, consultants, even farmers. Let's find out. Graham, Byrne and David Crimmins, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
20,000 doctors, you can't just be aimed at them.
Well, the clue's in the name. So Global Health Capital is, so our ambition is beyond Ireland. So Ireland's where we're launching. We're already in fairly advanced negotiations on the UK market, and we're a couple of countries in continental Europe as well. So we're looking at the medical profession beyond the Irish market.
And I presume we'll get on to other professions as well. But when I go, now maybe I'm different, maybe the kinds of doctors who treat me insist on being paid first of all, but it's a tap and then you may go, but you can't go without tapping. So therefore, who is it aimed at? Is this medical card holders and people like that, or?
No,
insurance.
So our target market are medical professionals who operate in the private healthcare space. So that could be a GP or a hospital consultant. And if you look at a hospital consultant first, okay, they get money because you go and see them in their consultation rooms and you tap the card, etc., and that's fine. But they also get a significant part of their money by performing a procedure in a hospital. And in Ireland, how that is paid is the hospital consultant is a contractor effectively. So they need to put together a bill. There may be 3 or 4 of those hospital consultants working on that one procedure, and then there's the private hospital. And if there's any delay in any one of those 3, 4, 5 people, companies putting the bill in, they all are delayed. You only go as fast as your slowest link. Yeah. And even when the claim goes into the health insurance companies, a consultant may have made a mistake. So a different consultant may have made a mistake. I'm sure your claim will be absolutely perfect, but you're now waiting for that mistake to be rectified before the whole claim is settled. Because from an insurer's perspective, they're looking at a patient and one claim, even though there's maybe 4 or 5 parties to it.
And how did you guys decide to go for the meds, and meds in Ireland particularly? Why? I mean, there are bigger numbers of them elsewhere. And looking at the American system, holy God, I mean, I don't know what did you try to fix that one.
I think this obviously the genesis of the idea came from David, because obviously he's part and parcel and he's bed into the healthcare sector. The lending idea came from me when we were discussing the opportunity.
Because you've got a background in
because my background is 20 years non-bank lending in capital markets and investments, and so when we were discussing the idea, what we saw was obviously the opportunity was that there was a cash vacuum created by the billing system, and therefore the solution is, well, we provide short-term capital solutions in order to meet that vacuum. And I think the idea really is that when David brings his expertise within the whole healthcare ecosystem, I just kind of come in from behind and say, we can provide the capital structures, and then the business kind of rolled out from there.
And so doctor is looking for his or her cash. You're just funding it, basically. So there's a cost to funding. There's always a cost to funding.
Yep. No free lunch.
Yeah. So what's the business model? The actual business model?
So the business model, from a capital deployment perspective, the business model really is it's short-term capital. So you draw, and what you draw, you pay.
How short a term?
So our hero product is a product called MediFlow, which is a 90-day revolving credit product, which we've obviously put a different spin on and completely innovated that product. But effectively, once the consultant goes onto our platform, they're given a pre-approved amount, and they can draw between, €1,000 up to the maximum of €75,000 for a 90-day period.
90 days to me sounds like pawnbroking. I know I'm being rude, but and pawnbroking normally charges extremely heavily. How come you're not charging so much?
So what we did was we looked at the other sort of products that would be available for short-term capital, so credit cards and overdrafts, and we came in at a price point that was comparative to those. So we charge
or more competitive.
Probably we would actually say more competitive. So it's 1.5% per month for the 90 days, so 4.5% for 90 days. But as I said, you just pay for what you draw. So if you only draw for a 20-day period or a 30-day period, there's no exit fee. You just pay for what you pay for play, basically.
And both of you are smart boys, if I may call you boys.
Yeah.
And you've obviously seen that there is a problem. This is a real problem.
Genuinely a problem. Yeah. And David can tell you, why those problems are created.
I mean, part of there's two sides to the problem. So the first side is the inherent inefficiencies in the Irish healthcare system and the reimbursement system, and how
we know all of it.
We know, we could do 10 podcasts on that. So you've got that problem. You also then have on the solution side issues, which is that the kind of traditional banks, etc., the way their model works now, which is right for them, but it's a kind of a one-size-fits-all. So a doctor or a hospital consultant who's applying for a loan will take, in some cases, so long to get the decision as to whether they're going to get the loan that the reason why they needed a loan in the first place is already passed by. So when we did a lot of research, and I would have known it from previous lives, and we spoke to doctors, the number one commodity that's important to them is their time. And anything that takes time away from doing what they do best, which is treat patients, etc., make people better, etc., and bill, ultimately bill. But actually, some of the doctors, it's not their strongest suit, and therefore, making sure that they're chasing up on why that bill is outstanding, why it hasn't been paid, sometimes falls down the list of priorities. But at the same time that they're not getting the money in, they've still got all their outgoings. So they'll invariably have, a secretary. They will have rooms that they're paying rent on. They'll have very high medical insurance bills, etc. So
it's
they're going out.
It's a classic squeeze. I've never ever heard, and now, look, I'm no expert in this area, but I've never heard of doctors actually going out of business by virtue of running out of capital. Have they? I mean, is that a thing? I don't know now. I do not know.
I don't think they're going to go out of business, but they may struggle to bridge that for a while, and so they may have to dip into savings. They may have to dip into other areas to get the funds to meet those shortfalls in that short time. And that's kind of, I suppose, the area that we step in on that one product.
And I did mention at the beginning that I presume you're thinking more doctors. We'll get on to the overseas in a second, but dentists presumably are exactly the same.
Dentists, exactly.
And who else?
Dentists, pharmacists.
Yeah. What about our lovely lawyers?
No, this is a conversation we had from probably the first day about, because obviously, I get excited about quantums, and I'm like, well, this is great because if we do this, we can give it to all these people. And then, look, we wanted to provide the market with something that was unique, which is how we developed the revolving credit product. But we also decided that we wanted to be a specialist from day one. We felt that there was such a huge gap, and that wasn't being managed by any of the institutions or even the non-bank institutions. And therefore, that was the obvious thing for us to do. And we would actually create the scale by going into different jurisdictions rather than, and within the healthcare ecosystem, it's quite considerable once you start going beyond Ireland into other shores.
Well, I'm
But it's
presuming if there are 20,000 doctors here, there must be 200,000 just by pro rata into the UK, or probably even more. And. So it just gets huge, of course, very quickly.
And if you look at Germany and France, etc. And one of the things I would say to Graham quite a lot is, in each country, doctors face the same problem, but it's generally for different reasons. So there are idiosyncratic reasons in the Irish market as to why there's a delay in a doctor getting paid. But in the German market, doctors are delayed getting paid. It's for a different reason, but the net effect is a shortfall or a delay between performing a service and receiving the payment for that service.
And I presume you've gone through all of these. If you know so much about the German market, you've been digging around there. And what would it hold up the Germans particularly, or the French, or the British doctors from getting paid? Is there some, you say it's different in each market?
Yeah, so in Germany they have a system where they have what are called sickness funds, which are quasi health insurance funds, but they're non-profit, and they exist in a slightly different way. How the delays in Germany is around a lot of bureaucracy. So we often talk, and we kind of briefly mentioned here about Ireland, being behind the curve in digital health, etc. In Germany as well, there's significant challenges around digital health. So the bureaucracy of getting paid and forms and paper.
Cash only in Germany. You don't use the credit card in Germany.
Yeah, but if you're getting paid by the insurance company, the sickness fund, it's equally. There are different hurdles that they have to get over to get paid over in that as one country, as an example.
So you're up and running here in Ireland, and you said you've gone into which countries?
So next one is the UK.
Okay.
So we're not there yet, but we'll be going into the UK within the next 6 months.
And how do you do that? You just start knocking on doors? Do you go to the BMA? You see the way I was able to drop that out very quickly?
Yeah. British Medical Association. We'll be doing that through a multi-channel approach. So one of the things that we know that's in Ireland, but it's also in the UK, is a lot of doctors use financial advisors, wealth advisors, etc., accountants to do a lot of their financial. So you can go via that route, who then will make the introduction into the doctors.
That's another layer, though. And that's another cost.
It's not really another cost, no. Because
financial advisors all want a slice of, listen, who am I talking to?
Yeah.
They all want a cut of something.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I tell you, obviously the financial advisory intermediary sort of market is created to give non-bank or fintechs like us the infrastructure to get to our customers. And in our case, if our customer is a private healthcare professional, their biggest challenge is time. So if they don't have time, they're highly reliant on their advisories. Now, the advisories would say that when it comes to actually debt, they advise them on the tax, or they advise them on investment through their wealth management side. But when it comes to debt, they don't actually, they have to participate in the advice, but they don't get paid for it.
Okay.
But what the advisors want is they don't want that process to go on for weeks and months as they may have with an institution. So us coming to the table and having access to our platform and given, our whole business model is getting the cash to our customer within a 24-hour period gives everybody that, that time saving. So it creates efficiencies for the advisor and obviously delivers for our customer.
And you're going to tell me that all doctors love this, but you have been pushed back, I'm sure, because they're a pretty conservative bunch for a start.
Well, I mean, look, any market, look, there's a couple of really important points, and David, and you'll have to correct me because it's David's thing. He's never gone into a market, and we've certainly never gone into a market where we actually know the identity of every single potential customer in the market.
Well, you couldn't. I mean, if you're talking about thousands,
no, because we do, yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, go on.
So every medical professional operating in Ireland has to be regulated and registered with the Irish Medical Council.
And I saw that on your website that you can't, I'm not allowed to apply for this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you need to have an IMC number in really simple terms, or a General Medical Council in the UK number, etc. So that's a publicly available directory. So I know that
Conal Moran is a doctor.
Exactly. My cousin's a neurosurgeon, so I know my cousin's name. He's a neurosurgeon. He qualified in 1995 or whenever it was, et cetera, and that information is part of how we can pre-approve doctors. So before they come on, our algorithm has already determined what a neurosurgeon of 30 years experience gets versus a neurosurgeon of 5 years versus a cardiologist of 8 years, etc. And so that's one of the unique things around this industry, which is why we're not looking at the lawyers and the engineers, etc. And one of the other things is that
they're even more dodgy, are they?
The payments that they get from the health insurance companies, generally speaking, the inefficiency is a delay in payment, but it's not a decline of payment. The payment will come in.
Good point. Yeah. Okay. You kind of got an almost an insured payment. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So if you are going to go hell for leather into the UK, how quickly can you grow? And I presume Santiago has your capital backers have a view on this as well. Presume that you want to go land grab ASAP.
Yes, we do. And yeah, look, Santiago have been an incredible supporter of ours because they actually backed us when we just sat in a room with an idea. So that's obviously something that I've never been experienced before, because you usually have to bring the idea and then try and sell it to hundreds of people before you land one. So we were lucky with that. So they believed in us, and they obviously believe in our scale up model, and they want to participate in our business as we go forward.
Yeah, of course.
But obviously, as we scale, the only way our business grows is by bringing in secondary funders to come in and participate with Santiago.
So who are you going to touch?
So we go out to the secondary capital market. These are predominantly on lenders, institutional investors that look to do debt warehousing or debt placements, and they come in with a blended of cheaper capital with the Santiago capital, and that gives us a greater quantum of. So we would hope to put our first initial 5 million out within the first year, and within the first year raise up to 60 million, so we can deploy that over 3 years.
And one of the ways that you could raise capital is with an IPO. Has that crossed your mind? I've been doing this 5+ years now. Nobody ever seems to talk to me about IPOs. Would you consider IPO?
We would consider anything to get money.
But it's sitting there.
But it is. And, obviously the advantage of IPOs is that we've got endless capital.
Correct. If not
cheap.
Free.
Yeah.
So they will come after you if you don't pay.
But I think, obviously, the challenge is making sure that not just the concept would work in one jurisdiction, but the concept would need to work and be tried and tested in many jurisdictions. So that particular answer, probably, if you ask me in 2.5 years' time, hopefully I'll be sitting here and saying, yes.
You probably won't even need it. Because I presume, how quickly can you become profitable? I presume you're not profitable yet. You can't be.
No. I mean, we launched on Wednesday, 4 or 5 days ago. So we're not profitable yet. I mean, we've got a very robust financial plan, and we would look to be, profitable by the end of kind of year 2. So
that's not bad.
There's, upfront costs that gone into the platform in particular, which we've got that is, it's phenomenal. Anyone we've shown, I've just come from a meeting, I've shown it to someone who's involved in the industry, and they haven't seen anything like it. So that's taken a lot of money and a lot of upfront money, which we will then start to recover over the next year or so.
And I presume over 5 years, when you have funded and you've IPO'd and everything else, that there's a great big flip involved, because I'm sure one of those American corporations, the insurance corporations over there for medical insurance, would love to buy you.
Well, I mean, that's always the hope. But, myself and David, we're actually exactly the same age, and we've still got a good few years left in us. So, we wanted, and the reason we built the company from the first day that we met in the room when we whiteboarded it to where we are today is we wanted to maintain as much control as we possibly could, and for as long as we possibly could, because we're obviously both very experienced, and, when the time comes for us to make that decision, it'll be a nice time to make that decision.
Yeah,
I think.
Exactly. It'll be a good headache to have if someone's waving a check. Whether we accept the check or not, who knows?
You will.
Yeah.
If it's big enough zeros.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
I'm out of here.
Yeah, if there's enough zeros.
And, okay, you literally have just launched. So UK, then where?
So into continental Europe. So we're looking at Germany, a country in the Nordics, and another one.
By when?
I'd say 12 to maybe 18 months, that one.
You're going to be busy.
Yeah, we're going to be very busy. I mean, the beauty of what we've built, I mean, we see ourselves as a fintech. So the platform is kind of country agnostic, broadly speaking. I mean, with the UK, obviously, it will need to have pounds built into it, which we've done from the get-go. But then for the rest of Europe, it's obviously in the euro. It's really trying to follow the money flow. That's the key in each of the countries, is understanding how, a patient goes in, has a service, and
who
how
teaches you that, or where are you picking that up?
So from my perspective, I picked it up. I was working for a company called ResMed, which is a respiratory med tech company, and I was in charge sort of their strategic marketing across EMEA. And basically my role was to understand that patient and reimbursement flow in each of the 27 countries.
And literally now, did you have to go through day by day or movement by movement by a patient to understand exactly what happens with that patient?
Yeah, I mean, we literally on a whiteboard would go, patient feels they've got a problem, they go to their GP, the GP, and who pays for the GP. So in Ireland, obviously, we all pay for the GP, there's the medical card, and then there's, if you're going privately, you pay. But in other countries, such as the UK, if you go to an NHS doctor, you don't pay at the point of need. You go to a private doctor in the UK. So we literally mapped out all that out. And ResMed basically provides services for people with sleep apnea. So what we were trying to get paid for is what's called a CPAP device. And we were trying to find out, how can we make that more efficient so we come up earlier in the flow, rather than wait until the end of the flow, which was kind of happening traditionally. And so we went through that in each country and we literally worked it out. And it was the same, within the country, it would be effectively the same flow, whether you were selling a CPAP device or you were selling some other medical service.
How long does it take to go through that process per country? Is that days, weeks, months?
It's probably half a day if you have the right people in the room.
But to get the right people, of course, is another thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So ResMed, I mean, there's 9,000 people working ResMed, massive company. So each country would have its in-country team, and their job was to understand the real nuts and bolts of their country. So I was kind of a broader perspective across all of Europe. But I would have been in the rooms when we were doing that in each of those kind of countries and working out what is the patient pathway and then what's the reimbursement pathway.
I told you before we started that you're allowed to give a big shout out for your product.
Yeah.
So who would you like to chat with? Presumably every medical doctor, consultant in the country.
Yeah, not just our customers, obviously, which is all the private healthcare professionals, but GPs, and as David mentioned, we won't be long going into the whole dentistry space and the pharmacy space. So we obviously want to make sure that we're connecting directly with those in that market. We also want to reach out to the advisors and the consultants who obviously advise those clients to visit our website, www.globalhealthcapital.com.
I'm laughing at you're still using www.
Sorry, yeah. I'm a Luddite, and David's the tech absorber.
But there is,
and then pretty much any stakeholder that has any real influence, because that's one of the things we have to balance is there's so many different stakeholders within this sector. That, having a sort of a broad brand strategy and then having a funnel down brand strategy is incredibly important. I mean, David's background is marketing, so I keep handing over. So I'm trying to figure out what do I actually bring to the table here.
I think it's called cash.
Yeah, which is actually the important thing. Which is the important thing.
We wouldn't have been anywhere without the support.
But and it's funny because when you said to you, how do you know this? And David said, well, I know this. How I know is I know it from David, because we've spent a lot of time in the same room together. So that's who we're trying to reach out. But we would obviously want people to visit our platform because we put a huge amount of time, effort, investment into what we think. And look, I have been around lending platforms for quite a while, and I would say this, but it's definitely the best I've ever seen.
Of course you would.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, last question. You know what I'm going to ask you? Who would you hire in Heartbeat? Graham?
Oh, you told me this at the start.
Well, you didn't read your email.
Okay.
Somebody else read
Again,
his.
you're touching on the dynamic here. David read the email. I didn't. Well, you see, it's great that I have David already, so I don't need to bring him. But I would have selected him. But probably my partner, Elizabeth. Best deal closer I've ever come across.
And is that a life partner or a business partner?
Life partner.
Well, you better give her a name because otherwise
Elizabeth Bradley. Sorry.
Bradley, because everybody has a surname.
Yeah.
And I do notice that people say, Mary or Jack or Jill.
Yeah.
Which particular?
Yeah.
Well, Elizabeth, is she hired? Is she working with you?
No, she helps us on the CRM side. She works for HubSpot. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Elizabeth, somebody may be knocking on your door looking for you as they go into the
Obviously close the deal with yourself. So
Yeah. No, best deal closer.
David, who would you hire in a heartbeat?
Yeah, so I did give it a bit of thought. So the person I'm
Hang on a second
picking
now. See, Graham, he gave it a bit of thought.
Okay.
is Alan Foy. So Alan is the managing partner of a VC called Venture Wave, and he would have been a director in WebDoctor where I was CEO. And he's a super nice guy, but he is so smart. You never have a conversation with him that you don't come away knowing something more than you went into it.
Yeah.
And he's very well connected as well. So his little black book will open up so many doors. So it would be Alan I'd bring in.
Alan, he's hired as well.
Yeah, he's
But
hired.
he's kind of already hired anyway. But
He's living in Dubai at the moment, or he's out that neck of the woods, so he can set up our Middle East office.
Will you actually go that way? Will you go to the Middle East?
Absolutely, in Australia, etc. So yeah.
There's a big world out there.
It's the global.
I keep telling people, get off the island. 7 million on this island, 7 billion off the island.
Yeah.
It's 1,000 times bigger. That's the place to go. Listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us. That's Graham Byrne and David Crimmins. And the business is...
Global Health Capital.
There you go. If anybody wants to get in contact, or you can get us through LinkedIn, as we always do. Thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
That Great Business Show.
A funny thing happened to me on the way to the physio. Literally, I'm hobbling in. Donald Douglas is hobbling out. And before I can say hamstring, he's pitching me his business. Turns out he's built a company called Scanfinity. It's a genius way for small businesses to do a bit of marketing. And of course, there's much more to it than that, and we will get on to that. But by another complete coincidence, he is also a bestie of Brendan Colbert of Poacher's Drinks that was on with us just a few episodes back. They roomed together once upon a time. How small is the world? Donald Douglas, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thanks a million, Conal. Thanks for having me on, and I hope I didn't freak you out there.
True story. You saw me and you said, how do I get onto the show? And I said, like I tell everybody else, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But you chased me.
Yeah, I did.
That's only a few weeks ago.
Well, it was much cheaper than paying a PR agency, so thanks for that. So
No, LinkedIn. It's free. It's free.
Oh, is it?
LinkedIn. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
Well, I think what we had there is a kind of more of a real world version of LinkedIn. It was,
yeah.
It's like real world social networking. LinkedIn could probably learn a few things from you and I. A lot less of a wooden interaction and more serendipitous.
Serendipitous is right. Tell me all about Scanfinity.
So the story of Scanfinity is a business that I created after COVID.
Actually, I have to go back because the previous business was called Return to Sender.
Yes.
And you've just now told me the story that when you were sent checks in the post, old people, so young people can check out, ask what that means. When you were sent checks in the post to Return to Sender, what happened?
The checks got sent back to the post, the sorting office. So I was in London. That's back to the kind of, this is the origin story, of course. And it's unlike a lot of these origin stories, I think it's a true origin story. So back in 2001, I did the advertising course in DIT. I went to London with friends of mine. We worked in advertising briefly, started the internet, and we set up a kind of a .com. So these sort of cleverer lads than we were, these consulting guys we knew, set up this business called contactdetails.com. Kind of a version of LinkedIn, except a bit more primitive in that you would, you text into a website in terms of what you were doing. So I'd send in a text to say, sur la piste, or on holidays with my parents, or whatever it was. And
really interesting things. Not.
Yeah. So people would follow you, and we were going around our college professors and headmasters, wandering in there, kind of skulking into the old school and saying, would you mind getting all the pupils on this? Sort of a little bit like Facebook got started, but the business just went nowhere. It raised a lot of money and was just going bust. So we were about to get our marching orders. And back then, B to A meant back to advertising, B to B was back to banking, and B to C was back to consulting. So all the lads were heading back to their highly paid consulting jobs. And we were sitting in the office going, how are we going to make this business work? So the start of it, which kind of relates very well to some of the other stuff I'm going to talk about on Scanfinity, the start of Return to Sender was where we're in the office. We had an innocent smoothie, opened the lid of it. The thing exploded all over the ceiling. Innocent Smoothie had just got started, if you remember. We had all that sort of really clever copy on the back of the
they
labels.
were clever boys. Yeah.
Really
I met
good.
with them actually once upon a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice fellas and great tone of voice and just an amazing brand personality. So on the side of the packaging, it said, if you're bored, call the banana phone. And we said, well, first of all, there's strawberry gunk all over the ceiling. And second of all, let's call the banana phone, because you could text the banana phone, couldn't you? Why can't you text the banana phone? Why can't you put a text number on the packaging? So we got ourselves down to Shepherd's Bush. It was the Gold Hawk Industrial Estate. And we went in and we sat in reception. So reception was made of hay. So it was bales of hay. And there was a guy sitting there in full tweed who turned out to be the guy from Phileas Fogg Crisps. And we went in, we met the guys. Richard was the guy's name. He was one of these very well sort of brought up sort of planner types who was working on Volkswagen in DDB. And he left to start this company. So we pitched it. We got a text number on the Innocent Smoothie bottle. And then we launched, and it was great because we were 25 and we were fearless.
And what were you to do with your text number?
So you would have texted in for a competition, really.
Okay.
So
All right.
it was texting in to win tickets to their festival.
Which is basically what you're talking about now.
Kind of what I'm talking about now. So
You better start talking about it.
I better start talking about it. So Return to Sender, I ran Return to Sender for 24 years, and a few kind of derivations of that. But for the most part, it's been a business running text messaging competitions, what we call sort of brand activations with print, packaging, point of sale, that type of stuff. But during COVID, of course, there was no point of sale happening. There was no in-store retail leisure activations. All went out the window. So I was kind of rooming, or I was sharing offices with Brendan
Colbert. Of Poachers. Yeah.
Of Poachers, and he was in the office I was in. So he was trying to get Poachers distributed and build the brand and all that type of stuff. And I was trying to reimagine Return to Sender. I was like, what am I going to do? So a few things happened during COVID. One of the great things that happened, or not so great things that happened during COVID, was the sort of acceleration of technologies. And one of these technologies was computer vision, 3D, augmented reality, QR codes, camera marketing, what we call camera marketing. So that happened. I don't know if you remember the 3D Tiger. Do you remember Google released this Tiger in 3D? But
I don't, oddly enough. But
yeah.
No.
So it was, you'd hold up your phone. There's a tiger in 3D. You drop it into your kitchen, and it's so.
An Irish company called Holo Toys who are doing things with that kind of stuff.
Fantastic company, Holo Toys. So it's a similar idea. So I said to Brendan that, okay, so you're not in store right now. You can't activate in store. Wouldn't it be cool if you could build, software or services or a website where you can scan your packaging? So you could push out a link on Instagram or your email or your SMS list or whatever it is. People click on that link and they can scan. They can scan your packaging. You can drive people to the packaging to pick up the pack, scan the label for a chance to win a prize or some immersive kind of storytelling experience. And then in tandem with that, you could put a QR code maybe on the back of your packaging. And then when people scan the QR code, then they go to the same website and scan the pack and learn more about the brand and get vouchers and all that stuff.
Interesting how QR codes, it was kind of languishing there for a long time.
Yeah.
Certainly now, literally everybody uses it. I mean, it's just ubiquitous. Nice word.
It is ubiquitous. Try saying that with it's ubiquitous. I mean, technology is a funny beast. Like when you're working in the tech business, you're keeping your eye on the dashboard and your fuel and your cash burn, and you're looking at trends, and you just a lot of the time you're unsure as to what's happening. I think, like obviously QR codes were accelerated by COVID, but very often in the technology business something will happen, like for us, text messaging was pop idol voting. More people voted in pop idol than the general
Did you do
election. That wasn't us, but TVs was the coronation of Queen Elizabeth, I think, or Queen Mary. I don't know. Do you know your Your Marys from your Elizabeth.
Well, Queen Elizabeth was the only one.
Elizabeth.
Was there a Queen? Well, look at that. Anyway, back to your business. What are you doing?
So what are we doing now? We're I've brought along some other pieces of packaging, so I'm just going to put our innocent smoothie to one side.
Very good.
You won't have to do the weekly shop here now, Connell. You've got in front of me. I have a bottle of Coke, a can of Guinness.
Say, take the bottle of Coke there and show it to me now. What am I doing with that? Or
I'm going to do my Kerrygold one first.
Yeah.
So this is a promotion we did, or what marketing people might call an activation we did for Kerrygold butter. So Kerrygold butter is all about getting people together for good times around the table and celebrating good food. So at Christmas, what we did was we did a campaign where we encouraged people to buy a pack of Kerrygold. And when they scanned the logo on the Kerrygold, so our software recognizes the logo and the curvature of the pack and the 3D and all of the kind of points on that. And we took the iconic Kerrygold foil and we turned it into a 3D Christmas star filter. And you could then share that filter in your house, on your Christmas tree, do whatever for a chance to win prizes. So that was the first.
And how successful are those kind of competitions and or?
It kind of depends on where you deploy them and how you measure them.
And are you getting hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands?
I would say for packaging, for example.
Whichever. What is successful? How do you measure your success?
2%, 3% response rate on a piece of packaging is deemed a good response rate. So if you take a Coca-Cola promotion, so when we first started doing Coca-Cola on-pack promotions, you're looking at about 50 million bottles going through the line over the summer. You've got 2% response rate of that. That's a lot of numbers. So this idea of packaging as a media asset is it's just an incredibly powerful thing. So for if we can get what we call our call to action on the primary packaging, then we will get really big response rates.
So what would that mean now with Coca-Cola? Would they say trips to Disneyland or something? Scan here, that kind of thing.
Scan
just
here.
Bang, do.
Yeah. You'll scan the QR code, and then you will then use the QR code to kind of go to a website. So the important thing about all of this immersive tech, augmented reality, 3D, all this type of stuff is it doesn't require an app. So that is the first question a client would ask us: do you need an app? It all runs on the web. So a QR code.
There's no clickety-click, it's straight in.
No clickety-click.
Yeah.
And that's a classic technology thing. You know, you might have a business idea, you're waiting around, it only works on an app, or it's sandwiched in some other kind of tech environment that has a lot of friction. And then suddenly it's unbundled and it's available. Like QR codes are all available now. So you just open up your camera, scan your QR code, and then you're into our tech. Similarly for Jameson and Guinness, will I talk about those ones?
You talk about whichever. If you find them that they're successful, and you might just mention about what have you managed to? Isn't it conversions is what you're looking for?
Yeah, you're looking. So it always comes down to the brief, depending on what the brief is. Your response ultimately will be tailored to that. So in the Jameson brief, where we built an experience to scan the label, it's all about telling the story of Jameson and John Jameson, how he made his way from Scotland in 1780 to Bow Street Distillery. And then our tech basically hooks onto this label, and it reads individually all the components of that. So if you take this little red marking here, so I'm holding up a bottle of Jameson here, you take this little red marking here, that's called the Sinu Metu. And that basically means fearless. That's the story of Jameson. So
fearless after a couple of bottles, maybe.
So I have some harder stuff here in my briefcase. I'll bring some poutine the next time. So, so if you are any type of shopper or consumer, or let's say you're in America, you love Jameson, you buy the bottle, there's a little QR code on the back of it or a necktie on it, or you see an ad on social media telling you to click and scan your bottle, and you learn all about the story of Jameson in an immersive 3D, really cool visual. We're not talking about video here. We're talking about 3D visualized kind of sensory type experiences.
So I say with Jameson, I click on it and then I'm brought in to walk around or something. Do I walk through the distillery, or what do I actually see?
For this particular one, it's kind of a label overlay. So what it's doing is it's basically a little bit like Matterport. You know Matterport, where you see these little flashing circles.
No.
Okay, so you just you just literally open the camera. It highlights the spots on the label which are clickable.
Yeah.
You then click on those little kind of highlighty things, and
Okay.
it kind of concertinas up and opens up
And tells a story.
and tells a story. And you can embed video in there, or you can do
And
3D
Who
stuff.
has created the story? Is that you?
The story of John Jamieson is the story of John Jamieson.
No, but is it your company that does that? So if I have Conlamore on whiskey, who produces the copy for that?
Yeah. Well, that is probably the advertising agency, and who are probably much better placed to do this type of stuff, understand the craft of, storytelling and really sort of articulating that and putting that all together. So we will take all that stuff, chop it
So
up.
are you a tech company, a marketing company, or where do you sit?
Well, we are, we are paid for our technology expertise and our ability to sort of automate and, get this stuff up and running for not too expensive. That is one of the things. But ultimately, we are in the business of answering briefs. And I always think of that, that it's that Theodore Levitt quote, they're not looking for a 6mm drill bit. They're looking for a 6mm hole. So whatever we're selling, one day the brief could be, we need to sell more bars of chocolate, do whatever it takes, make it a bit fun because our target audience are that bit younger or but ultimately it's kind of a storytelling brief, or it's a purchase driving brief, or a loyalty brief.
And are you Ireland only, or are you international?
Well, we will work anywhere. So that is.
Well, where are you getting your business? Are you getting it in Ireland?
It's predominantly Ireland, UK. Yeah. And I think one of the great things about Ireland right now is a lot of the companies that we would work for here, have people overseas now. So if, very often you might have a client of yours, and that is one of the good things of LinkedIn, that you can, suddenly they pop up and you're like, oh, they're working in a premium spirits business in New York, and you're like, oh, fantastic, big budgets.
That's the Board Beer program. They're still doing that. Fabulous program.
Yeah, no, it's and we're trying to get in with the likes of Board Beer, and one of the reasons we're on here today is really to sort of bang the drum and sort of elucidate for just tell people how this stuff works.
You try to beat me up in the street outside the physios outside of Hughes' place. Well, so what is the ideal products for you? Plural now is that you've done butter, you've done whiskey there, you've got Guinness there.
Yeah.
Where does it best work? Does it work best with kids, older people, very old people? Who's best?
I think it kind of depends. I mean, so I think that if I'm being honest, I mean, we probably enjoy doing our best, doing like businesses like Diageo and Coke and Kerrygold and some of their advertising. Well, they do have the budgets, but at the same time, we're doing stuff for €1,500 plus. We're open for business.
Like to hear that. But I hope you heard Brendan Colbert talking about Coca-Cola and how nice they are not to his poor poacher's brand.
Yeah, sorry, you'll have to. I didn't get that now.
So, but give me a case study of how successful your best was.
I think so there's two types of promotions. I've spoken here today about QR code promotions, running QR codes in store, scanning QR codes. Our biggest one was probably one we did for Aldi. That was a really kind of quite a straightforward one. You just scan a QR code, you go to a website, you enter in, you scan your receipt, actually in this instance, and you enter for a chance to win your weekly shop. So we were giving away €50,000 over 12 weeks, which is no insignificant prize fund. We got 500,000 entries for that. So
that's not bad.
Yeah, so 50, so 500,000 entries you had to spend.
This is Ireland.
This is Ireland. Yeah. You had to spend €25 in store to get your kind of lucky number on your receipt to scan, to enter. That's driving that's a proper rate of sale driver right there. So the QR code business, opening up a QR code, scanning a QR code, that's all mass market. That's for everyone. The other stuff is a little bit more different. I could probably talk about the Guinness campaign, which I think I'm at liberty to talk about. So
you talk away there.
That was so this is a can of Guinness. We've run probably about 10 promotions now for Guinness. So this particular promotion was a free glass promotion.
Is that for the traditional big thick glass, I think, was it?
The lovely sort of bevels, the one with the
I
little
know it, yeah, it's very
indent,
nice.
and it was a personalised glass. So you could have got, I'll tell you how that would have worked. So Guinness were looking to drive volume. They're looking to secure point of sale visibility for the product, additional point of sale visibility for the product. So it's all very well merchandised Guinness as is. So we ran what we would call an activation where you scan your Guinness can. And once you scan your Guinness can, it connects to our technology, recognizes the logo, some of the other markings on the can and the curvature of the can and all that good stuff. And once you've scanned that, then you get a free glass. So the can kind of comes to life, sort of animates a little bit, and you enter in your details and you get a free personalized glass in the post. So that
Successful?
was very successful. And that's kind of in the, over sort of 10,000 type of entries for a promotion that, important to say that the call to action wasn't on the primary packaging. It was kind of elsewhere in store, on point of sale, in the advertising. So that would have been deemed a successful campaign.
What does not work?
I think when you're creating these campaigns, you need to be, as you mentioned earlier, that you need to be very careful about who your target audience is and how familiar they are with this type of thing. So when you're scanning, when you're taking part in one of these promotions, you're guided through this kind of process where you have to open your camera. You're suddenly in this kind of different environment. If you haven't used, say, face filters or selfies or that type of stuff on Snapchat, you'd probably think this could be a bit weird. So you might shut that down. But for the most part, it's reasonably mass market. But you've got to be very careful who your target audience is. How you're sort of lining up those sort of what we call shopper journeys in terms of where the initial interaction is being kind of kicked off. So you've got to get people to a website first before they scan the packaging. So if you have a QR code on your packaging, that's happy days. You're on dry land there because you could be at home. You could be,
So why would a company not put a QR code onto it?
That's a good question. So changing the primary packaging.
Yeah.
Now there's kind of new guidelines coming down the tracks for sort of GS1 and Operation Sunrise, I think it's called. So
you've lost me there.
I was talking to Brendan about this yesterday. So this is a kind of a new program to basically replace barcodes on the back of your packaging with QR codes. So barcodes
are dead, are they?
Well, they're on the way out. Goodbye, barcodes.
Oh, okay. Well, that was
Nice knowing you.
All of 20 years or something, max, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going to be.
And how
they're
soon
retired
will you
off.
see QRs only and not barcodes?
I don't think it's mandatory, but it'll be coming through. So there's a lot more information you can get into a QR code. So if you have a QR code on the back of your packaging, then you can kind of personalize you can design your label around that, and you can encourage people to scan the QR code to learn more about the product. And I think one of the great things about what we'd say optimizing your packaging for this type of stuff is you get to tell the story of your brand. And I think increasingly in the world, we're coming into an age now where there's just a lot of information out there. I think increasingly in the sort of food business and in the sort of nutrition business, there's all this kind of conflicting information about what's good for you, what isn't good for you. If you have a QR code on the back of your packaging, you get to tell your own story on your terms, albeit, as my advertising professor used to say, advertising is the truth well told. But
Nicely put. Now, you have one opportunity only.
Yes.
Anybody who wants to contact you, where would they find you? Do they go to Scanfinity, is it?
Yes, it's Donald at return2sender.ie.
Oh, you're still return to sender, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's where I send my emails to you.
Yes. So the software is developed. We got some funding for it, but it's something we're going to be launching to our return to sender client base, and it'll be very much part of that. So
when will that launch?
It's currently in place. We just haven't. It was really only on. I've been watching you, Connell, and to be honest with you, we're just. I suppose in the old days, you'd kind of you'd come up with an idea, you'd push it out there, and then you'd kind of see how the reaction was. I'm a bit more focused now on just getting stuff working and getting campaigns, and before I do my big launch.
In Irish, we say, Ní hagan kiel riv ish. You don't become wise until you get older. You're getting wiser.
I'm getting wise.
And older.
I
Or
was
older now. Anyway,
I'm certainly getting
final
older.
question. My final question to you is: who would you, Donald Douglas, hire in a heartbeat?
I think this. I was actually having a good think about this. So Jurgen Klopp has said he's not available, so he's gone off the list. But I think he was fantastic. I think his line about turning doubter to believer, as a sort of masthead for, I'm not calling it the business of Liverpool, but just that was the business problem, wasn't it? And he's a really good human as well. So he's a great guy. I'd love to have him on board. I think in terms of Irish business people who I would admire, I certainly think Barry Connolly from Richmond Marketing has a great eye for what people want. And
I'd like to have him on, actually. I've never met with him.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I actually ran into him on a plane. Well, I didn't run into him on the plane.
Because you run into a lot of people in the street places.
I was hanging around the plane trying to accost him. Just standing there underneath the wheels. But he had just brought Red Bull into Ireland.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
And he was telling me the story of that. But I was in London at the time, and I was trying to start my business, and he was great. He just said, go for it, get out there, go to London, travel, see the world, bring back good ideas. So Barry Connolly. The other one would probably be Michael Dwyer, I think, from Pigsback.
Oh yeah, I've met him a couple of times over in. He is a great supporter of the Fingal Leo. He backs them. And he's a mentor over there. Yeah,
he's just really, really smart and really commercial and really good at marketing. And I think he just educated half of the digital marketing, community in Ireland. So many great people.
The other half. He made a few quid, as we know. And
and he's good at poker. He's good at poker.
Good. Donald Douglas. Thank you so much for joining us on that great business show. You're very, very welcome. Please don't beat me up again outside the physio.
I'll be waiting.
And that is it for episode 268 of That Great Business Show. We are officially the Ireland's best business podcast. And we're not just saying it. It's UCD Smurfit Business School who says it. Do please repost us on our favourite LinkedIn. Do nothing else. Don't touch anything else. Just repost. And now, the cue for the studio credits, starring our Foley and Dolly Dream team, were Lee Brennan and Richard Ryan, with Peter Rice as the man with the golden mic, and Neil Horner is our best boy. Shot entirely on location here at Dublin South FM, directed by Caffeine and sponsored by our pals at De Facto Shaving Oil, made in Mayo, sold online to the world. It is the world's best shaving oil. It is not a beard oil. It is a shaving oil. It's all natural, so you can use it wherever. Coming soon, another blockbuster episode of That Great Business Show. Do stay tuned. And for now, a big thank you to studio from me, Conal Moran, Slán, Tamil, agus Buchas Mór.